Hello, my angels, and welcome in. Come in, come in. I'm so happy that you're here. If you're new here, thank you so much for coming in and giving my channel a chance. And tonight we're going to be reading Celtic Tales, Fairy Tales and Stories of Enchantment from Ireland, Scotland, Brittany, and Wales. And it's illustrated by Kate Forster. And the illustrations are beautiful, but I don't show them. There's usually only one per story. And this way, as you listen to me read, you can just drift off. Okay? And those that have been here before, thank you so much for coming back. You know how much your support means to me. And anyone who hasn't subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel. It just helps it to grow. Now, I just want to tell you one quick thing before we get to relaxing and reading. I posted a video earlier today complaining about having to wear the Holter monitor and how I was begrudgingly going and doing it. I was a dork. It's absolutely fine, guys. Yes, I can't shower for 2 days, but I don't have to keep my bra on, or I can, it's my choice. And guys, look at it. It's smaller than my phone, and it's just 3 cords. So anyone else that has to have this test done, just go ahead and do it. It's not a problem, honestly. Now, before we begin our story, shall we get ready? So the first thing you need to do is get your lighting ready. And you can have it however you like it. Light, dark, a sliver of light, a night light, pitch black. It's up to you. Except for one thing. No lit candles. When you're trying to relax or sleep, they can be very dangerous. I use the battery operated ones, but no lit ones. Okay? And now that we've done that, make sure you're somewhere comfortable. Whether it's a bed, a couch, a chair, a hammock, cushions on the floor, whatever makes you comfortable. And then grab any blanket that you like if you want to be covered up. And then we'll do our breathing. And again, for those that are new, most every video we try to do our breathing, 3 sets of deep breaths. And the reason is we want to make it a routine so that our brain recognizes when we do that, it sends the message to our body, it's time to relax. Whether it's relaxing because we're in an anxious position, whether we're starting to panic, or we just want to relax, or we want to sleep. So what we do is we take 1 breath for a count of 4 through our nose, through your nose, and we hold it for a count of 4, and then we let it out through our mouth for a count of 4. If you're able. If you're not, you do what you need to do, okay? This is about you. It's just making it a routine, okay? So let's start. Breathe in through the nose. Hold it. And release. And let's do another one. And hold. And the last one together. Hold. Very good. And now that you're relaxed, I will get the book. First, I'll get my glasses ready. Get the book ready. And tonight, our final story in this book, Master and Man, and it's from Ireland. Billy McDaniel was once as good-natured a young man as ever shook his brogue at a festival, emptied a jar, or handled a shillelagh. He feared for nothing but the want of drink, cared for nothing but who should pay for it, and thought of nothing but how to make fun over it. Drunk or sober, a word and a blow was ever the way with Billy McDaniel. And a mighty easy way it is of either getting into or ending a dispute. More's the pity. Through his fearing and caring and thinking for nothing but drink, this same Billy McDaniel fell into bad company. For surely the fairies are the worst of all company anyone could come across. It so happened that Billy was going home one clear, frosty night, not long after Christmas. The moon was round and bright, and although it was as fine a night as heart could wish for, he felt pinched with cold. "By my word," chattered Billy, "a drop of good liquor would be no bad thing to keep a man's soul from freezing in him, and I really wish I had a full measure of the best." "Never wish it twice, Billy," said a voice right beside him. He looked down and he saw a little man in a three-cornered hat, bound all about with gold lace, and great silver buckles on his shoes, which were so big it was a wonder he could wear them. He held out a glass as big as himself, filled with as good a liquor as he'd ever laid eyes on or a lip had tasted. "Success, my little fellow," said Billy McDaniel, nothing daunted, though well he knew that the little man belonged to the good people. "Here's to your health, and I thank you kindly." And he took the glass and he drained it to the very bottom, without ever taking a second breath. "Success," said the little man, "and you're heartily welcome, Billy. But don't think to cheat me as you have done others. Out with your purse and pay me like a gentleman." "Is it I pay you?" said Billy. "Could I not just take you up and put you in my pocket as easily as a blackberry?" "Billy McDaniel," said the little man, getting very angry, "you shall be my servant for 7 years and a day, and that is the way I will be paid, so make ready to follow me." When Billy heard this, he began to be very sorry for having used such bold words towards the little man. Yet, without knowing why, he felt himself obliged to follow the little man about the country the whole night, up and down, over hedge and ditch, and through bog and brake without any rest at all. When morning began to dawn, the little man turned round to him and said, "You may go home now, Billy, but on your peril don't fail to meet me in the fort field tonight, or it may be very worse for you in the long run. If I find you a good servant, you will find me an indulgent master." Home went Billy McDaniel, and though he was tired and weary enough, he stayed in bed all that day, and he couldn't get a wink of sleep, for he couldn't stop thinking of the little man. He was very afraid not to do his bidding, so up he got in the evening, and away he went to the fort field. It was not long before the little man arrived, and he said to him, "Billy, I want to go on a long journey tonight, so saddle one of my horses, and saddle another for yourself, as you are to go along with me, and you may be tired after your long walk last night." Billy thought this very considerate of his master, and thanked him accordingly. "But," he said, "if I may be so bold, sir, I would ask which is the way to your stable, for never a thing do I see but the old fort here, and the old thorn tree in the corner of the field." "Ask no question, Billy," said the little man, "but go over to the bits of bog and bring me 2 of the strongest rushes you can find." Billy did so accordingly, wondering what the little man could be at. He picked 2 of the stoutest rushes he could find, and he brought them back to his master. "Get up, Billy," said the little man, taking one of the rushes from him and striding across it. Where shall I get up, please, your honor?" asked Billy. "Why, up on horseback, like me, to be sure," said the little man. "Is it after making a fool of me you'd be," said Billy, "bidding me get on horseback upon that bit of rush? Maybe you want to persuade me that the rush I pulled a minute ago over the bog is now in fact a horse." Up, and no words," said the little man, starting to look very angry. "The best horse you ever rode was but a fool next to these." So Billy, thinking it was all a joke, but fearing to vex his master, straddled across the rush. "Borum, borum, borum," cried the little man suddenly. Immediately the rushes swelled up into fine horses, and away they went at full speed. But Billy, who had put the rush between his legs, without much minding how he did it, found himself sitting on horseback the wrong way, which was rather awkward, with his face in the horse's tail. So quick as his steed had started off with him, he had no power to turn around, and there was nothing he could do but hold on to the tail. At last they came to the journey's end, and they stopped at the gate of a very fine house. "Now, Billy," said the little man, "do as you see me do and follow me close. But as you did not know your horse's head from its tail, mind that your own head does not spin round until you can't tell whether you're standing or sitting. For remember that old liquor, though it can make a cat speak, can make a man very dumb." The little man then said some queer kind of words, out of which Billy could make no meaning. But he managed to say the words anyways, and as soon as he did, he felt himself flying alongside the little man, though he didn't know how, in through the keyhole of the door, through one keyhole after another, until they reached the wine cellar, which was well stocked with all kinds of different wines. The little man fell to drinking as hard as he could, and Billy, in no way disliking the example, did the same. "The best of masters you are, surely," said Billy to him, "and I will be well pleased to be in your service if you continue to get me plenty of drink." "I have made no bargain with you," said the little man, "and I will make none. But get up and follow me now." Away they went again through keyhole after keyhole. Then each mounted the rush from which he had left. They scampered off, kicking the clouds before them like snowballs, as soon as the words "bodum, bodum, bodum" had passed their lips. When they came back to the fort field, the little man dismissed Billy, bidding him to be there the next night at the same hour. Thus did they go on and on night after night, shaping their course one night here and one night there, sometimes north, sometimes east, sometimes south, sometimes west, until there was not a gentleman's wine cellar in all of Ireland they hadn't visited, and they could tell the flavor of every wine in every cellar as well or as better than the butler themselves. One night when Billy MacDaniel met the little man as usual in the fort field and was going to the bog to fetch the horses for the journey, his master said to him, "Billy, I shall want another horse tonight, for maybe we will be bringing back company." So Billy, who now knew better than to question any order given to him, brought a third rush, wondering who it might be that would travel back with them, and whether or not he was to have a fellow servant. "If it is another servant," thought Billy, "he shall go and fetch the horses from the bog every night, for I don't see why I am not every inch of me as good a gentleman as my master." Well, away they went, and Billy, leading the third horse, never stopped until they came to a snug farmer's house in County Limerick. Within the house there was great carousing, and the little man stopped outside and listened. Then turning round all of a sudden, he said, "Billy, I will be 1,000 years old tomorrow." "Well, God bless us, sir," said Billy in surprise. "Will you now?" "Don't say those words again, Billy," said the little man, "or you will be my ruin forever. Now, as I will be 1,000 years in the world tomorrow, I think it is high time for me to get married." "I think so too, without any kind of doubt at all," said Billy, "if you were ever meant to marry." "And for that purpose," said the little man, "I have come all this way to this house, for in this house this very night is young Darby Riley, and he's going to be married to Bridget Rooney. And as Bridget is as tall and comely a girl as has come from decent people, I think I want to marry her myself and take her off with me." "And what will Darby Riley say to that?" asked Billy. "Silence," said the little man, putting on a mighty severe look. "I did not bring you with me to ask any questions." Without holding further argument, he began saying the queer words, which had the power of passing him through the keyholes as free as air, and which Billy thought himself mighty clever to be able to say after him. Into the house they both went, and up to the rafters, for better viewing of the company and to keep out of sight. The little man perched himself as nimbly as a sparrow on one of the big beams that went across the house. Billy did the same, but as he was not much accustomed to roosting in such a place, his legs hung down untidy as they may be, and while the little man sat very contently on his haunches. There they sat, both master and man, looking down on the fun that was going forward. Under them were the priest and the piper, the father of Darby Riley,
Darby's 2 brothers, and father and mother of Bridget Rooney and her 4 sisters, all with brand new ribbons in their caps. And her 3 brothers, all looking as clean and clever as 3 boys in Munster. And enough uncles, aunts, and cousins to make a full house. And on the table was set plenty to eat and drink for every one of the guests. And there was enough there for double the number. Now, just as Mrs. Rooney was helping the priest to the first cut of the pig's head, Billy saw his master take out a little leather pouch from his pocket, and reaching into it, pulled out a pinch of some powder that he sprinkled down upon the table right in front of the bride. At that, the bride gave a sneeze. It made everyone at the table start, but not a soul said God bless us, as the guests thought the priest would have done so, as it was his duty. No one wished to take the words out of his mouth, which unfortunately were preoccupied with the pig and the greens. But after a moment's pause, the fun and merriment of the bridal feast went on without the pious benediction. Both Billy and his master noticed this happening from their station high up in the rafters. "Ha!" exclaimed the little man, and his eyes twinkled with strange light. "I have half of her now, surely. Let her sneeze but twice more, and she's mine." Again he sprinkled a bit of the mysterious powder down upon the table. And again Bridget sneezed, but she did it so gently, blushing with embarrassment, that few, except the little man and Billy, seemed to take notice, and no one thought to say God bless us. Billy all this time was regarding the poor girl with the most rueful expression, for he could not help thinking what a terrible thing it was for a nice young girl of 19, with large blue eyes, transparent skin, and dimpled cheeks suffused with health and joy, to be obliged to marry an ugly little bit of a man who was 1,000 years old. At this critical moment, the bride gave a third sneeze, and Billy roared out with all his might, "God bless us." Well, whether the exclamation resulted from his thoughts about the marriage, or were just a mere force of habit, he couldn't tell. But no sooner was it uttered than the little man, his face glowing with rage and disappointment, sprung up from the beam on which he had perched himself, and he shrieked out in a shrill voice like a cracked bagpipe, "I discharge you from my service, Billy McDaniel. Take that for your wages." And he gave Billy a most furious kick in the back, which sent him sprawling upon his face right in the middle of the supper table. If Billy was astonished, how much more so were every one of the company. But when he had told his story, the priest laid down his knife and fork and married the young couple with all speed. And Billy McDaniel danced and drank and feasted to his heart's content at the wedding. And that's the end. So I wish you all a lovely evening. I hope you have the sweetest of dreams, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. And always, always remember, I love you, I value you, I honor you. I'm so very, very glad that you were born.